Do you know how many times I've tried to do this Q&A? I've done it about 4 or 5 times now, and I'm sick of it. And it's just driving me up the wall because every answer I give, I'm just not happy with it. So this is the last time I'm trying it, and if you don't like it, well, I do care. But you know, I've just tried this so many times, so I'm sorry if some of the answers I give aren't clear enough. You know, just bear with me. This is the Q&A, basically. Damn it, I'm terrible at intros. To edit the videos, I use Windows Movie Maker for the photos, and after I've done the single photo editing together, I put it in Sony Movie Studio, and that's where I do the video effects, all the sound editing and stuff like that. My favourite pay-per-view to animate is Destruction. I know a lot of people would think it was WrestleMania, but I really enjoyed Destruction, basically because, well, there was so much to do, and I think it really sort of started a sort of storyline turn. I think after that point, the writing became a little bit better for my shows, in my opinion at least, maybe not in yours, but yeah, I enjoyed the Hell in a Cell, the Last Man Standing, the hardcore match at the start, and all the matches in between. I enjoyed that pay-per-view because I thought I built it up well, and I thought that came off looking quite good. Favourite wrestlers in no particular order: CM Punk, Jeff Hardy, Seth Rollins, Pentagon Jr. and Daniel Bryan. I can't really pick a favourite out of those guys. Animating tips: I'm not the best person to give animating tips, basically because I'm not the best animator. If I had more time, if I wasn't doing it weekly and I was doing single animations, I would be a bit better. But anyway, animating tips wise, for me personally, I would say if you're going to get a move, try and do it right in terms of, the movement, getting enough pictures. What would help is if you got a move, if you're doing a wrestling animation, for example, if you've got a super kick, get a video of a super kick being done and notice how the movements are being done. I need a stop motion software because I don't have one at the moment. I need something like Stop Motion Pro because at the moment I'm just doing it with the single camera rather than having a webcam or anything. You'll see that in the behind the scenes. But animating tips wise, take your time with it, be patient. It's not going to look good the first time you do it, that's a given, but you will improve with practice. Practice makes perfect, it's not just a saying. And also take a look at the movement, take a look at real life movements to see how you can replicate it in animation form. That's what I would say. I don't have an NLW Hall of Fame yet, but I could do in future. I guess maybe John Cena, The Undertaker are names that spring to mind, but maybe it could be a section on the website. I don't know really if I'd make it a big thing, but yeah, it could be a possibility in future. I don't have a plan to stop anytime soon. I mean, I'll probably keep the NLW going for at least 1 or 2 years, maybe. But even after that, when I stop doing it for completely, I'd like to try and keep it going in some sort of form, maybe a faster paced format, or something that's more like ECW Hardcore TV, where it's just like clips to splice together, or highlights from house shows or anything like that. But yeah, I don't plan to stop it fully, but there is going to be a point where I'm not going to be able to continue doing it weekly for years to come, so I will stop, but it won't be in the near future. That's what I'm saying. I don't know how many figures I've got exactly. I think it's around, 100, 150 or something like that. You'll see in the Q&A that I'm doing for the behind the scenes, I've set out all my figures, and I didn't realise how many figures I had before. It's not really a collection per se, but it's quite a lot of figures, about 100, 150. You'll see when I show you later. I don't have frames per second per se because I take a lot of shortcuts, I do a lot of pauses, so that's because I'm doing it weekly, but frames, for each individual photo, it's about 0.09 per second. Kurt Angle in NLW is a funny one because I never intended him to be, undefeated for as long as he was. It just turns out that I kept booking him to be undefeated, and well, that's just how the storyline stuck. And I get why people were getting a bit agitated at the fact that he always won, and that's why I turned him heel. Part of the reason I turned him heel, I didn't even intend to have him heel. I intended to have him babyface for quite a while. So, and I understand that probably an unbeaten run for someone like Kurt Angle is probably better with a heel wrestler because you're waiting for a babyface comeback to, beat him and end his streak. So that's why. When will he lose? I'm not going to tell you that. That's a spoiler. But, he's going to lose at some point in the future. That's where the storyline is going to head. And as for a title match, that's why I haven't given him a title match, is because I didn't intend him to be unbeaten for this long. So, he had opportunities to win a title match in the Royal Rumble and Battle Royals before, but he could have a title match in future. You'll see that play out over the coming weeks. And for the Superstar Dialogue, I get it from YouTube. I get the MP3s from promos. I'm searching for loads of promos just to find the right dialogue in any kind of company. It's really hard sometimes because a lot of times you write down who you want to speak in a promo, like The Undertaker, for example, but there's very few promos on YouTube that I can find of the American Badass. So I don't know whether you prefer me to splice in real life audio or whether you'd rather have me have just like subtitles at the bottom to make it more relatable to the story. because, you know, it's hard finding promos, but I think it pays off in terms of realism. However, if you prefer to have subtitles at the bottom rather than having them actually speaking, let me know. That's such a bizarre and freaky question that I just had to answer it. No, I don't eat babies, and I don't know who, I can't remember who asked that, but that's just dodgy as hell. Favourite match in NLW? It's going to be probably Batista versus Randy Orton at WrestleMania. I really enjoyed that one. Any match with a cage or any gimmick match, I enjoy making. One-on-one match-wise, I would say AJ Styles versus Shawn Michaels at Heatwave. That lasted for about 20 minutes. I think it was my longest one-on-one match that I'd done to that point. So, that was enjoyable to do. Favourite show in NLW? I would say... not WrestleMania. I didn't enjoy WrestleMania as much, to be honest. I would say episode 13, because episode 13 I had a lot of storyline development heading into WrestleMania. Triple H returned, brawled with The Undertaker, Jericho versus Benoit. AJ Styles wasn't there. Why am I thinking of AJ Styles? I'm getting this all mixed up now. Oh yeah, Cena got thrown into the river by Shawn Michaels. There was a battle rap, tables match, and you name it, loads of backstage skits, so I enjoyed that show. Episode 13 if you want to watch it. Knickerbocker Glory is my favourite food, it always will be. Just anything with whipped cream, chocolate, any strawberry, you know, just loads of sugar. I'm healthy, well, I like to think I'm healthy, but yeah, anything for a treat, enjoy that. Anything with lots of sugar and chocolate, it's my kind of thing. I started NLW basically because I was bored. I mean, there wasn't really much to do at the time. Or, like, I guess I wanted to have something like a wrestling promotion that I could watch, and, you know, I thought about doing some sort of universe mode on YouTube, but that never really sufficed. I would say, yeah, I was bored. I had a lot of figures at the time. Well, not as many as I do now, but I had a couple of figures, and I wanted to do some sort of show. I was into fantasy booking and all that, so I wanted an outlet for that. And that's where NLW came from. Inspiration-wise, I would say any of the pick feds that are on YouTube at the time, I can't remember the names of them. You know, Loser King, Steve-O, all those guys, and there was actually a fella called Rated R Superstars Back that was quite an inspiration for me. I'd made a couple of shows beforehand, back in the day when I was, you know, younger, but it wasn't any good. It was around, I don't know, 2007, 2008, and they were like PowerPoint presentations. They were that slow. It's more like a pick fed at the time. But, you know, with practice, I guess you improve, and in 2012, that's when I started NLW, and yeah, I have looked back since. I've looked back and seen how much I've improved, so that's evidence for you that practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect. I've still got to improve. Very happy when I heard that AJ Styles was coming to WWE. However, that said, I hope he's in the main event somewhere later on in the year, because I don't mind him being in the position he's in at the moment, but I don't want him to linger in the mid-card for too long. I mean, it'll be great to see him face Kevin Owens or someone like that, but after that, I do want to see him in the main event, because, you know, he deserves it, and it would be really interesting to see. And if they don't have him in the main event, it's just, you know, it's ridiculous. I'm sure they will do, but you never know, do you, with WWE? I don't have time for another completely new show like NXT, because having metal in NLW as it is, I'm already behind schedule slightly, and, you know, even the video I have to upload next week I haven't done yet, and it used to be that I was in backstock for about 5 weeks, so yeah, I don't think I'm going to have a completely new kind of show, but I am going to turn metal after WrestleMania into more of an NXT kind of show, sort of faster paced as well, kind of like ECW Hardcore TV, like I was saying earlier, with shorter skits, but keeping, you know, the main event and the main matches intact. And also, when you say NXT type show, I am going to turn metal into kind of an NXT type show, in terms of, it's still going to have the main stars, your world champions and all that on it, but it's going to have more of a focus on, you know, the women's division, tag team division, introducing new superstars. I'd like to, you know, obviously incorporate people that I don't feature on NLW as much, maybe like Akio and The Miz, so they would have more of a platform on metal, and, you know, showcase those kind of rivalries lower down on the card. So yeah, also it would be a better fit for my schedule, because, you know, I wouldn't have to animate as much, and also I feel that metal and NLW are kind of similar at the moment. That's why I want to change metal to be, you know, something different that you can enjoy. I'm hoping to make that happen. I'm from the UK, no other information than that. I don't know if you can tell in my voice, because when I'm commentating it's always, you know, with an American tinge to my voice. So yeah, I'm from the UK. I'm doing the King of the Ring tournament later on in the year. That's a bit of a spoiler that I've given away there, but, you know, nevertheless, that's something to look forward to. Yep, King of the Ring tournament, and the winner of that tournament will probably get a world title match at some point. So I do enjoy doing tournaments in NLW. The reason I haven't written them in to storylines, well, you know, they take up a lot of time, but I have taken the time to write in a King of the Ring tournament, and I'm going to have a King of the Ring starting later on in the year. The reason I don't do updated themes is because the theme that the superstar, such as AJ Styles or Sting maybe, currently has doesn't fit with their character in NLW, and also because, you know, it just really reflects my music tastes. I don't mind AJ Styles' new WWE theme, it's just it doesn't really fit his character in NLW. The New Japan heel theme is, you know, better for him as the world champion at the moment, I feel. And also, you know, updated themes, not necessarily the best themes. I prefer sort of the old school kind of style. And yeah, it's basically down to my musical preference. Favorite wrestling company by far is Lucha Underground. If you don't watch it, please watch it. It is the best show I have seen for ages, for years, and it's so compelling to watch because it's so different from WWE and TNA. If you watch it, you'll know how, you know, bizarre it is at times, and every match is good, and every week there's a main event that's worth watching, and the storyline progression, the storylines are just amazing. It's just so bizarre and it's so different, and if you don't watch it, please watch it. I really want this show to take off and, you know, climb up in the ratings. There's no way I can watch it in the UK, so I have to find it on YouTube and places like that, and, you know, I'd happily pay to watch it because it's that good. So yeah, by far Lucha Underground. I enjoy ROH, every match is good there. TNA, I haven't really watched a lot of TNA for a while. And WWE, well, you know, they're doing well at the moment, kind of, with some sort of storyline progression heading into WrestleMania. It's definitely more intriguing than it appeared at the end of Fastlane. But yeah, hopefully Raw can, you know, if Raw was 2 hours every week, it would be a little bit less boring, as it is at the moment, a less struggle to get through. And that would probably improve ratings, but you never know. I know that the reason they're 3 hours is because they want to make more money, and that's understandable, but it's just a pain in the ass to sit through. But they do have some good storyline progression heading into WrestleMania. And NXT, yeah, what needs to be said, NXT's great, isn't it? Yeah, I went to NXT TakeOver London, and that was just the best experience of my life, I would say. Which shows you how sad my life has been up till this point. First ever figure I got was Carlito. It was about a $5 back in the day. I got it from a supermarket, and, you know, my parents bought it for me, and it's seen a lot of wear and tear, but figures these days are so expensive. And back then they were well cheap. Could get loads. I mean, it sucks that Brian has to retire, but, you know, at the end of the day, it's best for his health, and I'm happy for him that he can retire at a young age, start a family, and, you know, do... Well, the fact that he's had such a, you know, short career, relatively short, in fact, in WWE, about 4 or 5 active years, and he's done basically everything that he could have done. There is no... Well, there's few what-ifs with Daniel Bryan when it comes to WWE. In fact, he way exceeded expectations that were placed on him when he first came there. And, you know, obviously, I cried inside when he announced he had to retire, but at the end of the day, it's best for his health, and I'm happy that he can look forward to a new life with his with Brie. And, you know, he's had a lasting impact on the wrestling industry as a whole, which is going to be hard for anybody to replicate. I've probably mentioned this before, but the reason I don't use updated figures is because they are so expensive here. They're like 30 quid each for elites, and, you know, 15 quid for basics, which I don't think it's worth it, to be honest. That's why I get a lot of my figures used from Amazon and eBay. You see a lot of Jacks, they're cheaper, but a lot of the Mattels are also more expensive. But if there's a good figure, I will buy it if it's for the right price. You know, I won't spend more than about £15. And also, you've mentioned to me Ringside Collectibles, and it's a good site, yeah, but I live in the UK, so the shipping cost for each figure is about £20 to £30, and I just can't afford that. That's why I don't use Ringside Collectibles, and that's why I don't have updated figures. I just can't afford it. I didn't really start collecting figures per se. I mean, back in 2007, I guess I started to collect figures, if you want to call it that. But it didn't really start to become... It's never really been a collection. I've just accumulated them over the years. So I would say I started in 2007, but since I've started NLW, I've bought loads more wrestling figures to put into the show. And, you know, like I said, I can't afford new ones, really. So that's why I buy a lot of them used on Amazon and eBay. And, you know, I get some good figures. And I've had figures come to me before, and you've seen them in NLW. They've had loose joints, I've had to replace them. So I've never really had a collection, but I've got a lot of figures, and you'll see that in the behind the scenes. I don't have a PO box. I feel kind of bad that you guys would want to send me stuff. I mean, I'm really appreciative of the fact that you'd want to send me figures, but I would feel bad knowing that you were giving that stuff for me for free. And, you know, if anything, I owe you, if that makes sense. Like, I would have a PO box, but I just feel guilty taking your stuff, things like figures for free, you know. Not really a Star Wars fan, haven't even seen the recent one. Like, I know the massive spoiler at the end, but I only started to watch Star Wars at the beginning of the year because people were like, "You haven't watched Star Wars?" And I was like, "No, I never really found the time for it." So yeah, it's all right. I mean, it's not really my thing, but it's fine. Favorite YouTubers? Any one of the Sidemen, they're good. Any stop motion channel, What Culture Wrestling as well, Wrestling with Regret, and there's probably more that I'm forgetting. But yeah, I would say off the top of my head, those are my favourite YouTubers. Not into football as much, or soccer as it's known in the States over here, but not really into football as much as I used to be. I used to support Man City before they got all that money, and yeah, but I'm hoping Leicester win the Premier League this year. How likely that is, I don't know, but hopefully they can continue their momentum. I definitely enjoy it. If I didn't enjoy it, I wouldn't still be doing it. That's the main part, and also the fact that hopefully that you enjoy it motivates me to do it. And yeah, if I didn't enjoy it, I wouldn't do it, and that's a main piece of advice for animation. If you don't enjoy it, don't do it. Like, it's not going to come out as good if you don't enjoy it. You got to try. It's time consuming. It can test your patience, but at the end of the day, I enjoy watching it back for the most part, and no, that's why I do NLW. I feel bad for the Miz in NLW, to be honest. I didn't intend to have him be a jobber. It just sort of happened that way. I didn't incorporate him into storylines at the start. I bought him in a battle pack with Rey Mysterio, and it's the Rey Mysterio I wanted. The Miz was just came with it, and I tried to write him in storylines a couple of times, like heading into WrestleMania, but it just sort of fell off the radar. Looking back, I would rather I had pushed him in a more main role, because I think he's pretty funny as the heel he is at the moment, although I've never been the biggest Miz fan. Yeah, so that's basically it. And, I said I was going to make Metal a more like an NXT type show, so I'll try and find a place for the Miz in future. Hardest NLW match to animate, I would say, is the triple cage. There was, I had trouble fitting that cage in with, I'm in the eaves of the attic, so it's hard to fit 3 cages on top of each other in the roof. And to place the tripod everywhere, it's hard to get a good shot. And you'll notice how the animation at times is a bit choppy in that match, although it did come out looking better than I expected. So that was definitely the hardest match. Getting the mini tripod that I have on top of that cage, it was flimsy, it was difficult to manoeuvre, but it paid off in the end, and you voted it Match of the Year in NLW for 2015, so obviously paid off. To time track the Royal Rumble, it's not as hard as you think. It's about 150 pictures between every minute, is what I worked it out to in previous matches. So what I did was, between entrants, I just had 150 pictures, give or take a couple, and I continually edited it so that I would know if I was going over time or I was going under time, that I would know how much I was doing at that specific time, how much photos I'd taken, and how much, I needed to do to get it to the length it needed to be for time tracking the Rumble. So yeah, it was about a minute per 150 photos, so that's how I time tracked it. Force and TNA, like I said, I haven't really watched it for a while. I haven't watched it since about the end of last year. It just got a bit boring to me, but then again, they were just showing that title tournament over again, so obviously it wasn't the most enthralling viewing. I know they've been doing some good things as of late, but I haven't really had time to properly catch up with it. It looks, highlights I've seen, it does look good. I think it gets a lot of flack, a lot of undeserved flack, but a lot of flack it gets, it does deserve, if you see what I mean. So, yeah, I enjoyed it when it came out in New York City in 2014. In fact, I went to the UK taping in London in, when was it? Well, it was last year when Kurt Angle won the world title. I was there for that. That was great. Yeah, basically I haven't had the time to watch it, and it does get a lot of undeserved hate, because it is good, it just could be better. I can't really say how long the NWO is going to last, because that would be a spoiler, and I don't give out spoilers, as I've said before, but, I would say that I don't want it to last too long, but at the same time, I don't want it to last too short. If it's going to go out, it's got to go out with a bang. It can't just fizzle out and fade off into obscurity, because then this storyline would have been completely pointless from the start. I don't want it to become too small, but as big as it is now, but at the same time, I don't want it to become too large like it was in WCW and other places. I don't want to repeat the same mistakes that I've done before, so I want to keep it under control and make sure that people don't get bored of it. That's the main thing. I hope that people don't get bored of it, but I will try, and I'm racking my brain over how long to keep it lasting, so you'll see over the coming weeks whether it lasts or not. The Iron Man match took about 5 days to make, and I was animating for about 6 hours each day maybe. So animating matches like that, they take a long time, and not as long as you'd think, but that's because I take a lot of shortcuts and I have to keep that up weekly. So keeping matches to time and trying to do that. Like I said with the Royal Rumble, it's hard. Most matches they take about a day to animate. Short matches, maybe if like a main event for NLW or Metal, that'll take about 2 days. Main event title matches, they'll take about 3 or 4 days to make, and it's really, I'm spending all day. I don't really animate when I'm doing something else during the day. It will only be if I've got a full day free. That's when I animate, and that's when I get the most done animating wise. And at night is where I do because I'm just so tired, I do the editing on the computer and get those out. I don't do dual commentary basically because, well, it would be hard because, like I said before, I'm animating during the day and mostly I'm editing at night. However, how often I commentate varies, so it's really not a set time I have for animating, which is why it would be bad, or difficult at least, to get a hold of somebody to do dual commentary. It could be a possibility, but that would only be a one-off because I couldn't do that constantly. It would just be too hard. I don't commentate at one specific time. They would have to be available at the same time as me, and yeah, that's why. My favourite moment in NLW is probably the Cena hit and run on the Undertaker, or Shawn Michaels throwing John Cena in the river. Anything wacky like that. I know it's been done in WWE before, but anything wacky like that, anything where they get thrown off the stage, put through the cage, or anything like that, are good moments in NLW. But yeah, one of the two that I just mentioned. I mean, the injury list sucks, and, not gonna lie, I mean, most of the wrestlers I'm not too fussed about per se. I was really angry when Cesaro got injured, that sucked, and Rollins, but apart from that, it could have been a chance to build new stars, but that didn't really happen. A lot of the people just stayed in the places they were, and it didn't really progress things a lot, and it was a bad time to watch wrestling at that point, in WWE at least, when all those people were injured, because they're relying too heavily on these names and they're not building up enough people, because back in the day they'd build up a bunch of people so that if one person got injured it wouldn't matter as much, but now that they've relied so heavily on the same people for a number of years, they need to build up more people, and that should have been a wake-up call, but it wasn't, which sucks. Favourite figures, either the Elite Shawn Michaels or the Elite Undertaker. Both of them are good figures, and I got them for good prices as well as I can remember. I'm so cheap, I'm not Mr. Krabs, but there's Shawn Michaels or the Undertaker. They got good movements in the figures, and they're not loose, they're not too stiff. I can animate well with them. I could do non-wrestling animations in the future. I'm going to, actually. I definitely will. But whether I upload them to YouTube or not is a different story. I need to improve my animation skills first. I got a couple ideas written down. It's just finding the time to do it with NLW and all this, college work and that. But I'm definitely going to try and do some sort of non-wrestling animation. Maybe upload it to YouTube in the future. I hope to, at least. Favourite storyline in NLW is either Sting vs The Undertaker or John Cena vs Raven, because I had those span out for quite a while, like a year or two, and they paid off, they worked well. I would say the worst storyline, well, not worst, my least favourite, in my opinion, is Triple H vs Shawn Michaels, just because it's been done to death in WWE, and that's why you notice how I do a lot of dream matches in NLW. I mean, sometimes there are matches that have already happened in WWE, and I can't help that, but I try and keep the rivalries sort of fantasy-based, sort of like CM Punk and Sting and AJ Styles vs Shawn Michaels and things like that, to try and make it an alternative, because if it was like WWE exactly, then there'd be no point in NLW. That's why I try and keep, these fantasy matches that have never happened, like Sting vs The Undertaker and John Cena vs Raven. So those are my favourites, and like I say, it wasn't that I thought it looked bad, I just thought it was too similar to WWE, was the Triple H vs Shawn Michaels rivalry. Channel didn't start as a stop motion, actually. It was more video editing. I'd done a couple of custom intros for Raw and SmackDown. They were received quite well back in the day. It got a couple thousand views before I had all the subscribers I've got now, so that was great. And I did a couple highlight videos. I think 1 or 2 of them got taken down for copyright, but yeah, it started off as custom intros for shows, and after that I started doing NLW, and then gradually I started to take off the custom intros. I've still got them somewhere, I think, but they're alright. I'm sure if I look back on them now, they weren't good. The reason I don't have another title in NLW is because I think there's too many at the moment, and to have another title in NLW, 2 reasons why I don't think it would work. One, I think it would be a bit lazy for me, personally, as an animator and a storyline writer, because if 2 people were feuding over this belt, it would be because, well, they're feuding over the belt, that's why they're feuding, rather than another personal reason or anything like that. So I think it would be a bit boring, to be honest. Second reason, each belt in NLW serves a purpose. You've got the main belt as the world title, and the Intercontinental Championship is the mid card, X Division high flying, Women's Championship is given tag team and hardcore. So any title would have to have a unique spin on it, but I don't have time to have another champion in NLW because it's not a big roster. So it wouldn't make sense to have another championship, at least in my opinion. If you thought that Q&A I rambled, I cannot tell you how much I rambled in the previous Q&As, and that's why I had to do it 3 or 4 times, and this is definitely the final time I'm going to do it. So, this has been racking my brain for weeks, and I've been trying to get it out and do it, so I apologise and I'm rambling now. Look at me. But yes, sorry about no face reveal, I'm self-conscious as hell. I will be uploading the behind the scenes in a couple weeks time where you'll see how I make the stage, how I do the animations, how many figures I've got, how I edit the videos, anything like that will be in the behind the scenes. But if there was a question that I didn't answer or I forgot to answer in this Q&A, ask it in the comments below and I will ask it or I'll answer it as best I can. I won't answer any questions on returns or debuts because that are spoilers and I don't give out spoilers, so you can do that. My Twitter is at NLW Stop Motion. I'm going to try and get at least 50 followers before I tweet regularly, and then hopefully it'll build up from there. I've got my Instagram where I progress storylines and show you exclusive photos like pay-per-view posters and so forth, and that's at NLW Instagram. And of course my website where you can check the schedule, check all the history of NLW, and also you can contact me through there. And that's about it, and without sounding too cheesy, thank you for watching NLW, because without you, this would just be a sad, lonely person in their room making animations, and I appreciate that you enjoy it and you want to watch it. That's the best thing about doing NLW, is the feedback that I get and the responses, good or bad. I enjoy making it for you, and I'm glad that hopefully you enjoy it. So that's about it from me. I'm going to see you when I see you.